Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's probably because it's winter. Campervan living has been preying on my mind quite a lot. Thinking of ways just to make campervan living and during the winter, particularly the long nights of winter, just a bit more comfortable and easier. And I've thought up lots and lots of ways that you can make campervan living that bit easier, but sometimes you have to bear in mind that campervan living essentially is all about compromise. I've got quite a short wheelbase Volkswagen T6 that I'm driving at the moment. It's only 4.96 meters long, which has advantages. It's got advantages when you're trying to park your car in a car park. It's advantages when you're booking on a ferry. It's that little bit cheaper. But there are disadvantages too, and those disadvantages are largely down to campervan living comfort. There's just not the space in a 4.96 meter long vehicle to kind of stretch out and just be as comfortable. So lots of wee things that you can do to make life that wee bit more comfortable. And I thought up 5 of them today that I want to share with you. Some of you will do this already. Some of you will be well aware of these little tips. But yet again, some of you might not be. So it's kind of worthwhile going through them. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to find somewhere to park up for a while, and we'll run through these 5 top tips for campervan living. Before I go into these little tips for winter comfort, I want to show you something in the campervan here. Gina and I treated ourselves at Christmas. Well, we thought we were treating the campervan, but in treating the campervan, we were actually treating ourselves. Have a look at this. We thought we would have some new carpets in the camper, so we bought this lovely rug from a place called Fat Bob's Emporium, and they made these rugs to size to suit the campervan. It's kind of nice. Some time ago we bought these seat covers, this sort of orange and grey look to it, which we're absolutely delighted with. So we bought these carpets as well to match, and you can see they fit beautifully in the front of the cab here, in the passenger seat and the driver's seat, and we rather like them. A wee bit of class, I think, to the van, and you'll see they also match my my Jackery my Jackery power station, all matching colours. And we're down in Keswick in Cumbria the other week there, and we bought this throw as well, which brightens up the campervan. It's got a kind of ethnic look to it, and the orange and the grey to match. So we're pretty pleased with all of that. So many thanks to Fat Bob's Emporium. I'll put the details down below in case anybody's interested, but many thanks to them for doing such a good job in making up these carpets for us. Okay, the first little tip I want to offer you is to do with the Skylight. Now, those of you who campervan regularly will be well aware that probably because of climate change, we're getting a lot more winds than normal. So this is a very simple tip. If you don't want to be disturbed during the night by a rattling skylight or a skylight that suddenly crashes open, park against the wind, if you know what I mean. The skylight opens up, make sure the wind's coming this way, and not that way, because if it's going that way, it's likely to, you know, to push the windscreen, push the skylight right open, and you know, it'll be noisy and a bit of a pest, especially when it happens during the night. So make sure your skylight is open against the wind. So if the wind's blowing, it won't really affect it too much, and you'll still get some air coming in. My skylight does have kind of little attachments here, which you know, sort of locks the thing in place, and they're quite useful. But you know, when the wind's blowing hard against the skylight, you know, it tends to rattle a bit like that, and it can make sleep very, very difficult. We had this situation not that long ago when we were, you know, we were camping overnight. We were quite late getting to a place. It was dark. We drove in. It wasn't too windy, but during the night the wind really picked up, and we realised that we were, you know, our skylight was kind of facing into the wind, and there was an almighty gust at one point which woke us up, and the skylight just crashed open, and it was pouring rain as well. I remember that, and the rain was pouring down. So yes, it helps a lot if you park sort of against the wind, so the wind's not going to come right in your skylight and cause all sorts of problems. Now the second little tip I wanted to offer you today really concerns the blokes rather than the ladies and the girls. This is to do with you know, as you get older, you have to go to the toilet slightly more often, particularly during the night. And when it's cold and you're in a nice toasty sleeping bag, that can be a hassle. So this won't appeal to everybody, I don't suppose, but I keep quite handy a pee bottle. This is an Nalgene bottle, which is almost indestructible. They say you can reverse a truck over one of these and it won't break, and it's pretty good for a pee bottle. As you can see, it's got quite a big capacity, and sometimes I have to go 2 or 3 times, particularly if I've been drinking some wine or some beer in the evening. So this is useful. Particularly useful too, and I'm not bragging, is the wide neck mouth. That's quite important, I suppose. Maybe it doesn't affect everybody in the same way, but you know, a wide neck opening is good. And yeah, this is worth its weight in gold. And if you're on a long car journey, you're on a lot of motorways or autobahns, and you really just have to go, then this can be quite useful as well. You just pull it at the side, stop, do the business, and off you go. It is important, of course, you keep this fresh. You don't have, you know, urine lingering in it for days. You know, get rid of it as soon as you can. Usually into your porta potty, and that tends to be what we do. We empty it into the porta potty, and then when we can, we empty the porta potty. But yeah, a good pee bottle is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most important things for comfort in a camper van. Now, ladies, I don't know what the answer is. A number of years ago, my wife Gina and I were on a trekking trip to the Himalayas, and I'd been encouraged to buy her a thing called a shiwi, which is well, it's a sort of lady-shaped thing that fits between your legs, and there's a long tube, and the idea is you pee through this tube and it goes into a bottle or whatever. I have to say, the first night Gina tried it, ended up in a flooded tent, so she never used it again. And you know, bless her, what she now uses it at night time. We bring a porta potty out, we put it at the foot of her bed, and she'll get up during the night and use the porta potty for what it's meant to be used for. So that, she seems to be quite happy with that. But I know sometimes if I'm lying there nice and cozy and warm in the sleeping bag, and she hears a trickle into a pee bottle, I can see that envious look on her face. Sometimes, just sometimes, it's of benefit being of the male species as opposed to the female species. But yeah, pee bottles, very, very useful. Okay, on to point 3. Exterior screen covers. Now, we've got curtains in this Caravaggio, and the curtains are fine and they do the job and they're fine, but exterior screen covers also just make the camper van just that little bit warmer. But what is most important of all is to stop the windscreen steaming up. You get condensation generally on the inside of the windscreen. If we use just the curtains, and it's a kind of, that sort of humid night, and it takes ages to clear it away in the morning. And I don't know if you're like me, but I hate having to clear the windscreen in the morning with a cloth. It leaves it all streaky, and then you're driving along and you're driving into the sun, and before you know where it is, you can't see anything out for the streaks. These exterior covers, just they're magic. Don't ask me how they work. I have no idea the science behind it, but there are huge benefits in getting some covers. We bought these ones from a company called Camper Shop, and I'll put all the details down below, and they'll make them to the size of your own particular camper. So that is my tip number 3. Use screen covers, exterior screen covers, rather than internal blinds or curtains. To show you my next little tip, I've had to go into the camper, and I've taken the nice throw that we bought recently off our bed. I'm just going to put this rib bed down into bed form, and then show you what the next little tip is. Okay, we find the rib bed quite firm and not terribly comfortable to sleep on, and that's not great if you're spending 8 or 10 hours lying on it during the winter. So we bought a duvet. These duvets are fantastic. They're really soften up the bed. They make it very, very comfortable, and I can honestly say now that I get a better night's sleep in the camper van than I do at home in my own bed, largely because of this duvet. Duvet actually make them to fit the size of your camper. I think they keep quite a good stock of T6 camper van mattresses, but they do a whole range, and they're not cheap, but they're well worth the money, I think. And we've been really blessed by having this. But it's big and it's bulky. How do you store it in a small T6 camper van? At the very beginning I said this is only 4.96 metres in length, and that doesn't leave an awful lot of storage space. And when you fold this up, it kind of rolls up, and it's still a big bulky bit of equipment. So what I do is this: the space at the back of when this is folded up into a seat, the space behind it, there's a shelf which is used for storing things and whatnot, and this forms the base of that shelf. We can put stuff on top of it, and it works effectively. And let me show you what I do. It's just a question of getting the duvet, flicking it into position like that, and we'll go around the back and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So there, I've been flicking it into position here. It fits there quite nicely, and all I have to do is go and put the seat up, and you wouldn't even know it was there half the time. And there we go, duvet in position. You can still put lots of stuff on the top of it. There's still plenty of storage space, and we don't have that great big bulky rolled up duvet that we have to dodge all the time. So I think this is a really useful tip, and one that I recommend to anybody with a T6 who uses a duvet mattress. Okay, my final tip. Tip number 5 has to do with electrical cables. I've lost count of how many people I've seen in campsites over the years, wrapping up their electrical cable and getting into a real fankle with it, and then ending up with a great big kind of bird's nest of of cables and trying to ram it into a bag and end up with this horrible, big, unwieldy mass of cables. There is a technique for rolling these up. Don't ask me what the science behind it is, I haven't the slightest idea, but it seems to work. And this is what you do. I'm sure many of you are aware of this tip, but for those who are not, it can be a lifesaver, and you might find this quite useful. So essentially, you get one end. This, you've got your cable. You've got it stretched out, going to your power point. You've got your cable. Unhook it from the power point, of course. What you have to do is form a loop. Okay, and then you, rather than form another loop, you invert your hand, yeah, and then bring it up into another loop, and then the third one, a straightforward loop, and then the next one, inverted loop, inverted loop, inverted, and as you go along, you can just make sure it's a nice, a nice neat coil. Then loop, inverted loop, inverted, and so on and so forth. As I say, I don't know the science behind it, but these electrical coils can be really unwieldy sods. They literally can. Sometimes it feels as though they've got a mind of their own, and you end up with this, as I say, a great big bird's nest of coils. But this seems to work pretty well. Loop, invert, loop, invert, and so on and so forth. So you've got a nice, neat loop of cable that you can easily put into your bag. So there you go, a reasonably tidy loop cable. And this is an extra long one, so it's, there's a lot of cable in this. And when it's quite neat and tidy like this, you can put it into a bag. There we go. Zip it up, nice and tidy. And that doesn't take up an awful lot of space. So there you go, my 5 tips for campervanning comfort, or legs of comfort. I'm sure there's lots more. I would love you to come up with your own tips and put them in the comments down below, and then we can build up a big library of useful campervanning tips. And if we get another 5, I'll do another little video later on in the year with some of the Camera McNish Outdoors channel viewers tips for comfortable campervanning. Okay, so that's it. If you've enjoyed this video, if you found it remotely useful, could I ask you to maybe subscribe to the channel? That'll help a lot, or hit that little like box down there, that helps a lot too. And for the moment, that's the sun coming out. I've parked in quite a nice spot. I hope to get a nice walk somewhere, so I'm off for a walk, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.